Welcome back to another insightful episode of the Honeypot podcast. This time, Alexander and Fredrik dive headfirst into the festive season, drawing intriguing parallels between a traditional Swedish Christmas buffet and the world of innovation. Get ready to unwrap some wisdom as they explore how to navigate a sea of options, balance tradition with experimentation, and ensure you don't bite off more than you can chew. It's a delicious blend of holiday cheer and practical advice, so grab a plate and let's dig in.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the Honeypot podcast with me, Alexander Wennerberg, and my brilliant colleague.
Yeah, Gamma. Thank you. So it's Christmas time, almost.
Yep.
We're getting closer. It's as you say, to be more political correct, holiday times. Indeed. But in Sweden, we have this tradition that we eat the Christmas table. We don't eat the actual table, but we eat the stuff on top of the table.
It sounded really funny, eating the Christmas table.
No, but a typical Christmas table in Sweden contains ham, of course, the Christmas ham, a lot of different herring. We have meatballs, of course, and we have a lot of fish, and we have a lot of eggs and shrimps, and a lot of good stuff. And a lot of cabbage dishes, especially from the region where you're from the south of Sweden. So it's a sea of different foods on this table, and you always eat too much, and you always have the feeling that you missed something. And I thought that could be the topic of today, actually. So how do you know that you tasted everything, sort of, and how do you make sure that you don't eat too much? And then we try to translate that into what we are doing at Hives, helping companies to with the continuous improvements, or actually our tool is helping our clients with continuous improvements and innovation and such. And we have said probably 1,000 times before that it's all about quantity to find quality. And if you see the Christmas table as the raw model for quantity and your plate where you pick up the different foods as the quality, how do you make sure that you have the best plate?
Definitely. Nice segue. I think that it very related feeling, at least from my side of it, is that a lot of change and a lot of the development in the world are very tech driven today, naturally. Yep. And I think also that the as you're saying, the situation of being overwhelmed by too many options. I think that you're very FOMO driven or FOMO situation in many organizations today, that we need to understand AI, we need to understand that, we need to try that, we need to a little bit here and there, and without even picking if the right paths, doing everything halfway. Yep. Pretty much. But when it comes to that kind of work, I would say that it's also pretty important to touch many of the things as well. Wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna go back to the Christmas table a lot during this this episode, but I read the other day that the perfect strategy for eating a traditional Christmas table is to eat 7 plates.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's a lot. Imagine,
given the amount I load on every plate, that would probably kill me.
Absolutely, and that's the problem, or that's the challenge, because thinking again back to continuous improvements and innovation, don't put too much on your plate at once.
Yeah, that's true.
Do it bite size, and have a strategy where you kind of have your 7 plates to go through things, because my experience at least is that you're trying to chew too much at the same time. Of course, you're trying to eat too much at the same time, and translate that into companies where, when I've been out throughout the years helping companies with innovation or challenges or business development or product development, the statements that we're working with is very wide usually, and it covers a lot of ground. And what I usually do when I do these sessions with clients is that I take the challenge that they wrote, and then we have a diverse team, of course, with different people. And I said, let's challenge this brief. And I would say like 99.9% of the times we come up with a different challenge. It's still connected to the main challenge that we got from the stakeholder, but it's been turned into the 7 plates, because there's so much small things that needs to be solved to solve the big thing as well. And to be able to go through the whole Christmas table or all the options out there, you have to make it bite-sized, and you have to do it one at a time. And I can refer that to the double diamond method and the model. I think most of our listeners are familiar with the double diamond. But the thing is, like, the double diamond is about, you have a challenge, you kind of you discover new opportunities, you look into a lot of things, and then you narrow it down, and then the next diamond starts, sort of. That's why it's called the double diamond. But most of the time, it's not one diamond after the first diamond. It's like multiple diamonds. And they are many, because challenges in a company are more holistic than you think. And it can also be solved very small. With small solutions, you can solve really big problems if you find the right spot where it hurts, sort of. You know what I mean? So I think you say analogy, right? About the 7 plates is kind of applicable to this this issue that I'm talking about.
Definitely, but I'm also thinking that innovation and change can be driven by a different kind of, let's say, different drivers to use that word again. But let's say it could be like technology driven, it could be challenge or problem driven, it could be driven by internal needs, it could be driven by external needs, and
absolutely,
and so on and so on. But I also think that a lot of in a lot of the situations when you are let's say spreading yourself too thin as an organization in the different initiatives, I would say that in a lot of those situations, you can often map that against not being, or at least in my opinion, not being enough, let's say, challenge driven in that kind of work, where you are, let's say, if it's easy to get like blinded by the light, or how you say, with all of the cool technologies and products and the different paths to go in, and I'm not saying that we're the perfect example as well, because I can definitely relate to being like very interested in like cool new technologies that are coming up all everywhere, and feeling some kind of like FOMO towards not trying them out and not knowing enough about them and so on. But going back to the situation where you are spreading yourself too thin as an organization, is that I would say that, and we actually made a bit of a exercise the other day with the team internally at Hives as well, where we were talking about the different needs that our customers are telling us about, and the different market needs, and how the market and the segment are changing and developing and moving forward, and pretty much translating those to like challenges or criterias to achieve. And I think that a lot of organizations can, as long as you are relating it to different goals or challenges or criterias, that are important for your organization to achieve, you can try out many things.
Yes.
But you also need to find a way to know, let's say, when to stop with different things.
Yes, but there's also another way of doing it. Back to the Christmas table.
I feel that's gonna be coming back.
I don't know if you thought about it, but what is the first dish on the Christmas table? What is the first thing you take on your plate?
Probably herring or potato.
No, it's something before. Yeah, but it's potato.
Potatoes.
So the potato is the base. We all know how potato, how it tastes and everything. You take a potato or two, and in this case, where we were at this fancy Christmas table, they had like mini potato, very good. And then you take the herring, and herring in Sweden, especially at Christmas time, you have several, and that's like the flagship of that specific restaurant you go to, because you have, the French onion herring, which is very, you have the only the onion herring, and then you have like the archipelago herring, and you have the mustard. And all this is, they take a lot of pride in making these different herrings.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's some strange ones like saffron. We had saffrons, and you had like ginger and whatever. And sometimes you have some Asian flavored. But you always take the potato first, right? Because you need a potato together with these new tastes that you test. And I think that's also something you can look in. Yeah, you need exactly. But also going back to what we talked about before, the 70-20-10 thing, like you need the foundation. You need to make sure that you have a ground to stand on when you're exploring these new things. You have to have the potato to be able to explore this different tastes of herring. And then a few people, I've developed my skills eating Christmas table. I would say that when I was younger, I took some herring, I took the potato, and then I went straight to the meatballs and and the wieners, sort of. But now I keep it clean. I do the fish first. Fish and eggs.
More traditional.
And that's also a strategy. And going back to if you apply this on business challenges. Yeah, make sure you have the potato to go with the new things, so you don't go off and do things that you can't deliver on or you can't execute on. So don't forget the potato.
So the familiar stuff as a base or as a foundation, and then add on top
flavors.
Of
that. Yeah, exactly. And if you want to go wild, add a meatball, add some ham or whatever to your fish plates. It's no rules. It's just easier to go through one thing at a time, sort of, when you have the base being present. The potato in this case.
True. Balancing tradition and innovation.
Yeah, because innovation can be messy, obviously. And if you look into a lot of big Christmas table beginners, they load up too much, and it's such a mix, so it doesn't taste good. It's just a sea of different tastes that doesn't go together, because you kind of need to have a strategy.
But also, if we would say that, like, let's say the different flavors as we describe them, let's call that the experimentation parts of it. If we would say that experimentation is of course key when it comes to the innovation and the change work, I'm also thinking about a lot of organizations want to pursue those kind of interesting initiatives and innovation of flavors as we're talking about, but at the same time they are a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, they are kind of overwhelmed by the different options on the buffet,
Yes.
In the same way. What would you say, like, for an organization or for a team or for a management group who are feeling a bit overwhelmed with the options? What would you say? What would you say would be like the way to move forward?
I mean, I'm going back to the 7 plates because if you want to explore things, you know, don't take the mustard herring together with the Janssons frestelse, which is like a creamy potato cake with anchovies. It doesn't go together.
Very Swedish
a traditional dish. Yes. Look it up. Janssons frestelse. It's Janssons delight. It's really, really good. No, but it doesn't pair up with the herring. So that's also one thing that, you know, take one plate at a time and make sure that you have the potato and then you can explore the different herring tastes together. But also exploring the different taste of the herring needs to be in a context, so you don't taste it together with the Janssons frestelse, because then you will automatically, scrap that idea, sort of, because it doesn't taste good. No, but have it together with the boiled potato, and you have a different experience. And I think it comes down to that once again, bite size. And try one segment at a time. You can see if they overlap, and then when you have figured out what works, you can see, okay, how does this work with Janssons frestelse? Not so good. Does Janssons frestelse work with meatballs? Yeah, it's a match in heaven, if you ask me. You know, so you can look into different options, but make sure that you take one at a time and one diamond at a time, and going back to the double diamond method, and put it in the right context, so you don't pair it up with something really crazy, which could be fun as well, of course, but incremental, a little at a time, before you do the really crazy stuff. And that's why we say like 70, 20, 10, that if the 70% of your initiative should be, trying different herring with potato, the 20% should be, pairing up the Janssons frestelse with other stuff, not only the Janssons frestelse, and the 10% would be like, ice chocolate with pairing up that with the green cabbage or something like that. Crazy stuff might be really good, but probably not.
So first, trying out like experiments or experiments with in more separate environments together with foundation, rather than like combining different experiments and go crazy about everything.
Yeah, but you can kind of get the same feeling of trying wide if you're bringing in different perspectives when you try it, sort of. So you get representation from the different areas while you're testing the core. But it's more about, focusing on the core and then connected to the core, and then the bananas things. So, but I think the essence of what I'm trying to say is that do a little at a time and do many of it instead of one big chunk.
Yep.
So 7 plates with different tastes, different segments, instead of one big plate with everything on it. Because that will be a mess and no one can handle it. There's no stomach out there that would handle all the stuff on a Christmas table on one plate.
That's true. That's true.
Ends up in a disaster.
Yep. But one thing I'm actually thinking about, related to the Christmas buffet table again, I'm also thinking that a little bit like in the same way as every at least in Sweden, every region and in some way every family as well has its own traditions or slight adjustments to how it works and so. And I'm thinking that we've talked about it so many times as well, that even though we're often comparing to companies like Google and are relating to how they work and what you did when you were at Google as well, and different like very like future facing and challenge companies like those are how they're working, in the same way as every region and family have their flavors and their traditions. I think that one thing that's really important as well is to once again remind everyone about the importance of keeping things into context for your organization as well. Because I'm thinking even though it could be a good exercise from time to time to see what other companies are doing, I think that if you're trying to just copy recipes from another place, I think that could it only needs a couple of percentage in like difference to be a complete failure sometimes.
Absolutely,
and I think our organization at all.
Yes, and going back to you mentioned that we had a session within the company this week. And exactly what we did, we were looking into the tool today, how it works. We were looking into the requests from clients. We were looking into competitors. And then we took all the findings, and we decided on 4 criteria to move forward. So so that means when we are building new features or trying to come up with new functions and stuff like that, we will look into these 4 different criteria and say, does it answer to 3 of them? Or I think we said like it should be at least 2 or 3 of the 4. Yeah. And if it does, let's go ahead and build it. If it doesn't fit any of these, we're not going to touch it. And I think that's a really, really good way of working as well. But sometimes it can be really hard to find those criteria, and that's a session itself. You know, how should we measure this? And I think we mentioned that before when I worked at Google, they had this thing, you know, is it good for the user? Is it good for the world? Yeah. Is it good for Google? And it needed to be 2 out of these 3 to justify us working with it. But that meant that we built a lot of stuff that wasn't good for Google at the time, but it was good for the world or the user. And that was fine because they have a lot of resources.
But I think that's brilliant because you know you and it's going back to the situation where you can't be everything as a company. No, you need to find some kind of focus and some kind of like customer segment or product segment where you really shine as a product or a company or a service. Yeah. And I really like the way of like using criterias.
Me too. It's like guidelines, but without holding you back.
Yeah.
Because if it was guidelines, more like telling you what to do and not to do, that will like limit your thinking. But criteria is something totally different. That means that you come up with something and then you're like, oh, is this making money? Is this automated or whatever it could be? And I think that's less limitation within that way of working, and it opens up for more solutions. Because if you have guidelines more, that would mean that you read those guidelines and then you kind of stay away from the unexplored things, or you know, the unknown, because it will never work because we have these guidelines. But if you come up with things and then you test it with this criteria, that's a totally different thing, because it could be something that you could never imagine, but it fits all the criteria. So why not doing it, you know?
And exactly, and that's also why it's really it makes you, I would say that it almost makes you more challenge driven, working with criteria in that way, because even though our customers have a certain like need, maybe we've solved that in one way today, but maybe we will find in the next year, maybe we'll find a completely other way to solve the same kind of problem. And as long as that's mapping towards the criteria, that's going to be a way better solution for the customers. But
Absolutely. And I can't help thinking about the Christmas table again, because I'm thinking about, I'm 50 years old. I've eaten, at least 50 Christmas tables, one a year at least. No, but I kind of know the structure of it, even if it's put on a big table and with no linear, walkthrough. I kind of now after 50 years,
how to map the different dishes.
I know how to map exactly, and that mapping allows me, gives me a pretty good experience.
Yeah.
But imagine someone coming to Sweden for the first time and to that Christmas table where we were at. That could be an awful experience if you're all over the place.
They would probably combine stuff that wouldn't go at all together.
Exactly, and there's no guidelines. If you there's and I don't know. This doesn't really work with it's hard with criteria as well. But what if there were some kind of at least this is how you could do.
Yeah.
And to experience new things, and maybe that could be the continuous improvement things. That you take the potato first, and then you take the herring. Or have you tried this new herring? Oh, it's good, la la la. But innovation is more like diving it in, taking the dessert together with shrimps or whatever. And if you're lucky, it's good. Probably not, but
need to trust the luck as well.
I was thinking about that, but because they're really good in writing, what it is, and this is that, and this is that. But what if there was some kind of system where you could see, I should pick all the red dots on this plate, and
it should be color coded.
Exactly.
Different dishes that goes
it's
together.
A bad UI. Christmas table is a bad UI.
It is.
It's more grouped into big chunks, like departments at companies. Like, this is the marketing department. This is that one. And if you combine them together on one plate, it's going to end up being shit. But if you take a little at a time, then you will get a good result.
Yeah.
I need to write a book about this, right?
I think so.
Together with recipes.
The Christmas buffet analogy.
Exactly.
With innovation. We're recording this just before lunch, and all of this talk about food is starting
I'm totally hungry now.
To make me very hungry.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about life is like a box of chocolate.
Yeah, Forrest Gump quote.
Forrest Gump. I would say that companies is like a Christmas buffet.
That's gonna be the new quote on the walls.
Yes, exactly. The Swedish way, Christmas buffet.
Definitely.
Oh, it rhymes as well. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but I think that's it for today, right?
Yep. Any final words or tips?
Don't take on more than you can chew at once. Try the 7 plates analogy.
Yeah.
And don't forget the context, the potato. And try to find criteria for evaluating your initiative.
Yeah. Criteria are great. I love criteria.
Yes.
Wonderful. Great. Happy to have you joining us. Hope to see you next week again.
Yeah.
Have a nice week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Honeypot podcast, brought to you by Hives.co. We hope you found today's insights valuable and inspiring. If you have any questions, thoughts, or ideas, we'd love to hear from you. You can easily reach us by searching for Alexander Wennerberg or Fredrik Hagemer on LinkedIn. Or feel free to drop us an email at alexander@hives.co or frederick@hives.co. And hey, if you want to learn more about how Hives.co can help you capture insights, ideas, and feedback from your team or customers to make smarter business decisions, head over to Hives.co. It's the easiest yet most powerful tool out there for driving innovation and continuous improvement. Until next time, keep innovating, and thanks for being a part of the Honeypot community.